Hey everybody, it's Matt here, and today we're doing another episode of Keikaku Korner. This is also a Tristan-less episode, but don't you worry, he should be back on the show with me either sometime later this month. I say this month even though we're already at the end of May, but I'm referring to the end of June, and the latest it would be early July for some Halloween and July festivities. So either way though, he should be with us a little bit later on in June, and we're going to be talking about, in this episode, the entire theme of this episode is delays, because there was a lot of delays, not just on my end with trying to actually get this thing out, get this episode of this podcast out, but also with everything going on in the world right now with a lot of anime, manga, and also even some live action movies as well. So we're going to be covering all of those in a not so happy edition. Going to try to be happy and joyful and make some jokes when I can every now and again, do some dancing. If you're watching me on the YouTube channel, I'm moving to no music. It's very late and I'm very tired, but it's okay because we're going to be talking about some very interesting topics. So I'm going to put on my glasses, my specs, and we're going to be jumping to our first topic, which is talking about the fact that the new Higurashi anime, Higurashi When They Cry, is being delayed. So it was initially set to premiere in July, and interestingly enough, I actually talked about this with Tristan when he was able to be on the show maybe about 2 episodes ago, I believe. And sadly, I was saying at the time, with everything going on in the world, with everything going on. By the way, I don't want to mention specifically what it is, just in the off chance that even though YouTube has said that they've changed it in their algorithm that we can say what it is, in the off chance there's an issue somewhere, I don't want this video getting, it wouldn't get demonetized because we're not able for monetization at this time, but it still could end up lost in some shuffle or something like that. So I just, due to like D-rankings or stuff like that. So either way, I'll be saying what is going on in the world for the rest of this episode and for future episodes as well. So, and the reason why at the time I was hoping to be wrong, but the reason why I was guessing the fact that this would be delayed is because of the fact that it was announced, but they didn't talk about it as if they had a bunch of episodes done. And even if they do have maybe 1 or 2 episodes done, the way, putting aside animation, the fact that they might be working with companies or teams that are outside of Japan that have also might have been heavily affected by everything going on right now. Also the fact that the way voiceover works in Japan versus the US. In the US, when it comes to, I'm only talking about anime here. When it comes to anime, the way it's recorded in the US, usually it's a one-person booth with the director outside of that booth. Yeah, you still have to go into a building and whatnot, so of course, with everything going on right now, you wouldn't want to be that close to people inside an office building and then, going into that small booth that someone else was just breathing heavily into, spittle flying everywhere. You don't want that right now. So while you wouldn't do that, you could still set up a recording in your home, and even though that also will have its issues, of course, still Funimation has attempted to do that, and thankfully and other companies as well, I should say, not just Funimation, and the show cannot go on the way that it did before, but still certain contracts could at least be met for the time being. Certain things can go on briefly, but when it comes to Japanese voiceover recording, usually they have all of the actors together in one room. Now, not every single actor, of course, but usually if there's 3 to 4 actors in one scene bouncing off of each other in that scene, they're bouncing off of each other in the booth together. So I'm assuming it's also the fact that their infrastructure is just not, even though ours, I'm not, as I say ours, just the general American voiceover industry also isn't necessarily structured to work from home. Still, though, there are some veterans in the industry that do have home studios. They usually record other stuff there, though, not usually anime. Usually, from what I've heard, it's like voiceover work for commercials, or maybe they do some radio stuff on the side, or that is their main gig, and then anime voice acting is on the side based on how much that pays. So in this case, I would argue that the fact that they couldn't all get together to voice over something like Higurashi is probably also why it's being delayed as well. And in general, maybe they just thought that, while everything is raging on, maybe having something this gory is a little I mean, I hope that's not the reason why, but again, it could be a multitude of reasons. They're not going to want to sit there and air 4 to 5 episodes. Let's pretend that 4 to 5 episodes are done. They don't want to air those and then all of a sudden have to stop like some other series have, which we will get to a little bit later on in the episode. So it is sad because, again, this is meant to be a reboot of the series. It's meant to just start from the original, from the first Higurashi show. Although what's interesting is, though, it's not a readaptation of the manga, because this new anime will have a manga adaptation, and it's by Tomato Akase. So I don't want to say tomato, but I don't know. It's spelled tomato. Either way, it is pretty sad that this is happening. Again, just because I saw it coming doesn't mean that I'm, happy to be like, I'm right. This is definitely one of those times where I would have been very, very happy to be wrong. And the staff has not actually announced, as of this recording, they have not announced a new premiere date for the show. And quite frankly, I think that they shouldn't, because I think that any kind of date that they put forward so far without a vaccine, or a vaccine seeming close to being made, will definitely just be a way to disappoint people when they say, it'll come out in October, which, while I'm a huge fan of Halloween in July, something that we totally did not but did create just to experience spookiness in other months of the year. The thing is, by the way, this was going to premiere during Halloween in July, so how great would that have been? But the fact is, if they say October, and then things start getting worse in October because we're in the fall and we're ramping up towards the winter months, then it would just be an even bigger disappointment when they delay it till 2021. So I'm not going to say it's going to come out 2021 the earliest, but as of this time, I think it might be best to just not announce anything. Keep them, if they're going to do the manga, though, maybe put out that manga, but don't announce anything when it comes to the anime until you either have the entire show done, which is not usual for anime production. That's definitely unusual. We are in unusual times, however, but if they don't have most of it or all of it done, or even half of it done, and maybe they turn it into a half a year situation. I assume they were going to air all 26 episodes. I don't know if we had confirmation that it was 26 episodes, but assuming that it would be, because the initial one was, if they were going to launch it as a 26 episode series, then if they do air half and half, that could work. If it's structured the way the first Higurashi was, though, I don't know if I'd like that. But if they do, then that's fine. But of course, I don't know if they're still beholden to any of their TV scheduled stuff, because of course, if you don't know, when it comes to anime in Japan, usually it's much different than in the US, where in the US, when you look at Adult Swim, they're actually paying Funimation, or whoever's licensing that anime, for the rights to put that on their block. In Japan, while I'm sure you don't have Toei paying for Dragon Ball, because that seems a little silly because it's Dragon Ball, with how popular it is, in general, when it comes to late night anime, the anime production companies are actually paying the television networks to put their stuff on their networks. Sounds a little interesting compared to the way it works in the US, but yeah, that is how they do it over there. So I don't know if they're still beholden to that schedule. If they go, hey, we paid for 26, or whatever amount, so when we're done, we're coming out with that amount. So, or we have to rush to make that. I don't know how everything's working, because of course, again, we are in very strange times right now. So either way, if you're watching this through our YouTube channel or listening to this through our Podbean, comment down below. If you're through Podbean, you can find us on Twitter at ThoGuysRadio, because I want to hear your thoughts on all of this. When do you think this will premiere? Did you have any high hopes for this, or were you just uninterested altogether? I'm very curious to hear what you all have to say about this delay, and when it might get undelayed, revamped, get back up again, get picked up again, and when we could see it.